All good?
Yep, ready to go when you are.
Okay, so it's Jazz Hop.
Yes.
It is that big show right now on Jazz FM.
Yeah.
And we're here with the one and only DJ MK from Kishtory. How you doing, sir?
Yes, sir. I'm good, man. Pleasure
Yes.
to be here. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. Welcome. So we're talking jazz and hip-hop right now.
Yeah, it's a good
And-
subject.
Oh, 100%. The essence, man. The cornerstone of hip-hop. We're here. We're going to discuss it.
Yeah.
So first of all, I just want to know the feeling of digging in the crates in record shops, looking for a piece of a song,
Yeah.
you know, to find a sample. Why do you think that process is like so special?
Wow, that's a really good question. I think if you're a music lover, you always want to expand your knowledge of music and what you like. So when you find something you like, you're like, okay, I want to go down that rabbit hole of listening to new music and expanding my brain. So with hip hop, particularly after when you get into the 90s, after De La Soul and Biz Markie got sued for not clearing their samples, suddenly when we're buying all these hip hop records, we now know what the samples were. So for someone like me, that was just like amazing. So I go to secondhand record shops, Notting Hill Music Exchange, go into the Pound Basement. Next thing, I'm picking up Ramsey Lewis albums, I'm picking up CTI, I'm picking up Bob James, Idris Muhammad, everything, you know. So, yeah.
So what would you say your favorite jazz sample is in a hip-hop track and why?
Wow. I've got too many favorite samples, but I'd say if there was one album that I love and one artist that I really, really love is Ahmed Jamal. So, I mean, for hip hop heads, he's famous for like his sample "In the World Is Yours" by Nas, also Common Resurrection. But that's definitely one of my favorite samples. Tower of Power, there's Diamond D, Sally Got a One Track Mind, Souls of Mischief, 93 to Infinity, which is Heather, Billy Cobham, Gangstar, a jazz thing, which I think is Thelonious Monk, Excursions by Tribe Called Quest, which is Art Blakey. There's too many. I think once you get into the 90s hip hop, with groups like Tribe Called Quest, Gangstar, producers like DJ Premier, Pete Rock, Diamond D, Large Professor, they were jazz heads, do you know what I mean? Who before would look into their parents' collection and then they brought it into the hip hop forum, which just changed the game.
Wow, amazing answer there. So what would you say is the impact of jazz on the UK hip-hop culture and scene in your eyes?
I think it's huge, and I think the relationship between jazz and hip hop in this country, like we were saying off air, it goes back kind of to the beginning. So when hip hop first came about in this country, which would have been about 1983, 1984, you had a huge jazz scene in the clubs where people would dance in the clubs. They'd have sessions at lunchtime where kids would go to, and then a lot of those guys who were dancing to jazz then got into hip hop, because then that was the new thing. And then if you look at like producers in the UK, once sampling sort of was the thing, getting from 86, 87, we were doing exactly what the American guys were starting to do. So you had producers like DJ Pogo, who worked with Monie Love. He was using sampling like Bob James records. A lot of those classic breaks would be cut up in the clubs and people would be breaking to them. And then getting into the 90s, you know, you've got groups like Caveman, Son of Noise, who were sampling hip hop. And then you get into the mid 90s, you've got artists like Roots Maneuver, Skits, and now, you know, Little Sims, Lil Kana, who are all sampling jazz, which is wicked.
Yeah, big, UK legends now, I would say, Lil Kana, Little Sims.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And taking it to a whole new level, like
Yeah.
worldwide, which is amazing to see.
And just speaking on that, what do you think the future of jazz and hip-hop looks like within the UK? And what other artists do you think are like important going forward? You know, you mentioned Little Sims and Lil Kana. Is there any others that come to your mind?
Kofi Stone, Ocean Wisdom, Nux.
Nux is a good one, yeah.
Yeah, I love Nux, man. What he's doing. But yeah, I think now with technology and obviously stuff like
Yeah.
Spotify, or if you want to make music, it's more easier than ever. So the doors are open for people to discover new music, particularly jazz, and to incorporate that into their sounds. And it's something that's just refreshing, particularly nowadays where a lot of the music is stagnant, particularly in hip hop. So it's kind of like a breath of fresh air.
Wow. And if we're looking at jazz and hip hop, it's got a vibe to me like, your favorite drink, when you take your first sip, it's a vibe, and you want another glass,
Yeah.
and then maybe another.
Yeah. I like that.
Do you remember a moment in your career, when you felt like that, when you heard like, your first early jazz and hip hop records?
Yeah, definitely. And that'd be Bob James, 100%. Tunes like we were saying earlier, like Nautilus, where it just sounds so incredible, and it's totally different from like the other samples that I'd be hearing, like the funk and soul stuff. It just took you somewhere else. And then musically, the patterns of it would just go up and down, So yeah, I just used to love it. And then that brings you down a whole rabbit hole of other artists. And then, because before, when I was a kid growing up, yeah, I'd heard of Miles Davis. I heard of, maybe two other jazz legends, but I didn't really know anything. It's all because of hip hop. When I was hearing this sound, I'm like, what is this? And then someone would say, oh, this is actually a sample from blah, blah, blah. And then you're like, okay. And then you go and buy it and then go, oh, I like this. I'm going to buy this. And this record label and CTI, Black Jazz, blah, blah. And then you just, go down that rabbit hole and just love it.
Yeah, sure. And when I mention a hip hop records like, say, Skinny Man's Cancel a State of Mind,
Yeah.
how do you feel about that record, and also another record that we're going to be playing on the show, which is kind of Estelle's first breakthrough in the kind of jazz hip hop vibes, with like when she crossed over with Wait a Minute with John Legend?
Wow. Yeah, I know both those artists pretty well. Estelle used to live like a block away from me in West Kent Estate back in the day. She's absolutely killed it and smashed it. So yeah, it's wicked seeing her doing her thing. And with Skinny Man, I remember when he was recording that whole album, and I was happily, because he'd never really spat over something like that before. So when he did that and his whole delivery, it's just perfect. So yeah, that's a great tune, man. I love that.
And how important is it for the next generation to keep creating like innovative jazz and hip hop music? A lot of greats have even passed away, like,
Yeah,
Gurus,
come on.
your
I
Jay
know, I
Dillas.
know.
Can you imagine if they was around today, like the kind of music they'll be making?
Yeah, no, totally, man.
So, yeah, what's your thoughts on that, like, just for the future?
Yeah, it's just important to keep elevating and keep moving. Music's all about making something, and then that inspires someone, and then they listen to that and think, oh, I might try and do my version of that, but yet their version of that is just something totally different that just sparks off another movement or something like that. So yeah, it's important. There's the next Dilla, hopefully, who's out there now, digging through some tunes, or whether it be physically going into record shops or just searching on YouTube, which is a great tool.
Yeah,
So
sure.
That's what I love doing as well. Recently, I'm just madly into like 70s obscure Japanese stuff, and then some Polish jazz or whatever. You know what I mean? It's deep.
So just getting into the last few questions here. I need your top 5 jazz, soul and blues, hip hop acts of all time. I need your top 5, please.
Okay, Lonnie Liston Smith, Thelonious Monk, Art Blakey, Miles Davis, obviously, and Ahmed Jamal.
I'm glad you got through it, because putting you on the spot with the top 5 ain't easy.
No, it's definitely not easy.
Yeah.
But yeah, for now, that's what I'll go for. But obviously, there's the list is endless.
And when we talk about UK hip hop, I'm going to mention a place. I just want to know what this means to you, this place, and what memories it brings back. It's a place that was very special to me, a record shop in the UK. Do you remember Deal Real in Carnaby Street.
Yeah, I do. I'm actually one of the original partners of Deal Real Records.
Wow.
So we opened up Deal Real in 1997, originally in Knoll Street, in the West End, and we sold mainly hip hop, but we also sold what we call breaks back then, which was a lot of jazz. And then we were there from 97 to about 2000, 2001, and then the second version of Deal Real opened up, I think, about, I don't know, 2005. But yeah, very special place, a very special record shop. You know, I met so many. I met Nas there. I met all of Wu-Tang there. I met Warren G there. I think we took Dilla there once. Like, it's endless. But that's a very special place.
Yeah, very special for sure.
Yeah.
Shouts to Peaches.
Yeah. Shout out to Peaches.
Yeah, shouts
Wherever
to
she's
Peaches.
at.
Yeah, saw her the other day actually.
Yeah, shout out to Vincent.
Yeah, and this one is basically two of my favorite MCs. Guru and Nas.
Yes, I like
feel like
your style.
we never got a record. I don't believe there's an official
No,
record of those
you know
two
what?
together.
No, that's a very, very, very good point. Two sick MCs with such distinctive, amazing voices. And especially with Guru, we were talking about this off air, like his contribution to hip hop and jazz he's kind of got to be mentioned first, I think.
100%.
Because like the first noticeable time I heard jazz in a hip hop record was probably Jazz Music, which is a tune off the first Gangstar album. And then off Mo Better Blues, there's a jazz thing, which came out a year later, produced by DJ Premier, which obviously samples loads of jazz, and that got loads of people into jazz music as well as hip hop. And then we obviously had Jazz Mataz, which was a whole other thing, you know, which was just amazing. But yeah, you're right. We never got a Guru and Nas record. I can't think of when they were on the same track at all.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you, like, what I always think of that. That's a question that always just floats in my mind. It would just been incredible because they worked with the same producer predominantly, DJ Premier. It's like, wow, it never happened. And, what do you think, like, the concept would have been if they was on a record, and who would have produced it?
Primo 100% would have produced it, and it would have been amazing. I think at that time, sort of between particularly 92 and 96, like Nas was just blowing up and Gangstar was huge, but also DJ Premier was doing so many remixes. So time probably wasn't on his side, but he would have been a natural choice because obviously his partner is Guru and Nas is one of his best mates and he's obviously produced for Nas. But yeah, that's such a good question because I've interviewed Primo quite a few times. And yeah, I should have asked him that question. I would have loved to have known his answer to that.
Sure.
But I think it was probably just timing why we never got that. I might be wrong.
Yeah. Well, you know, DJ MK, really thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me,
We
man.
appreciate you coming on Jazz Hop on Jazz FM.
Yes, sir.
Any last words you want to say?
Nah, I'm just looking forward to checking out the show. And yeah, congratulations to you, man. I think you're doing a great job. And the show sounds wicked. So yeah, just keep up the good work.
Thank you so much, man. It's been a pleasure speaking to you.
Same.
All right, man. Peace.
Wicked.
Yeah, man.
Nice.
Yeah. All right.
I was just wondering,